morning, boys and girls. It's time for Sunday school once again. I'm glad you came along to do it with us. Hope you've had some fun times this week. I know that Blake and Walter had birthdays recently, so happy birthday to you guys. And I guess we'll get started with Sunday school. Let's pretend that we're walking in the desert that's really hot and really dry, and you've walked days and days. Suddenly, one morning when you wake up, you see that there's this white stuff on the ground. It's a kind of bread. Let's pretend that these scraps of bread, and they look like this. And I gave some to your mommies, and they have scattered them around the floor in the other room, or maybe even in that room. I'd like you to take a minute and go around the room and collect as many of these pieces of bread that you think you could eat in a day. Okay? So take a few minutes and go do that, and then you come right back to the lesson, okay? Go ahead. Find some bread. Searching for some bread, picking up the bread, collecting some bread. Come back to Missy Lane. Are you finding any? And you don't have to get all of it. Just pick enough that you think you might be able to eat in one day. And then come on back. Picking up some bread, gathering some bread, collecting pieces of bread. Come back to Missy Lane. Come on back, kids. Even if you haven't gotten all of it picked up, that's okay. Come on back to Missy Lane. Have a seat. Did everybody have a chance to pick up some of the bread? Good, good. Who at your house got the most? Some of you are probably counting. Some of you can probably tell just by who's got the bigger pile. Did you find out who has the most? Then who has the least? Who has the fewest pieces of this bread? Does everybody feel like they got enough? Do we sometimes feel like we don't get our share? Probably sometimes. When I was littler, I used to go on an Easter egg hunt, and it was for children that were like age 2 or 3, all the way up to high school, and they just said, "Everybody go." And those older kids are faster and they're taller. They could reach eggs that were up higher, and they were faster, and they just knew where to look for those hidden eggs. So I kind of felt like I didn't really get a fair shake. I didn't get as many as they did. I was littler, I was shorter. So that's a time that I felt like maybe I didn't get my share. But it was still fun. Well, who provides for everything that we need? God does. God does. And as God's people, what is our job if we have more than others? I bet you know this one. We share what we have with others who are less fortunate, right? That's really important. Take a few minutes and look back at your pieces of bread again, and who has the most and who has the least. And maybe you'd like to redistribute it a little better so that maybe it's a little even. Would you be willing to share if you have more than you need? I'll give you a couple minutes to do that. It really feels good to share with others, whether it's your mom or your sisters or brothers or friends if you're playing games and toys. It feels good to share, and God likes it when we share. Okay, I have a feeling that your piles are probably a little more even than maybe they were a while ago. Thanks to those of you who shared some of yours. with some that had a fewer amount. Okay? Well, in today's Bible story, the Israelites do a lot of complaining that they don't have enough. They're wandering in a desert and there's no food and no water. When the people complained to their leader Moses, remember we've been talking about Moses and he's been leading the people through deserts and through the Red Sea. Remember when the Red Sea opened up so they could get on through? Yeah, this is still Moses with those same people and they're still traveling. Well, those people complained to Moses that they were hungry and that they were thirsty. Well, when they complained to Moses, Moses turns around and complains to God. God promises to provide for all of our needs. So let's start with our opening prayer, shall we? In this prayer, I'm going to ask God to provide enough of something that we need. And for the first one, it's going to be water. And then we're going to ask God to help us to share that with others. So when I say share water with others, whatever I say in the first part, you say in the second part. Okay? We'll do this prayer together. So we need to fold our hands, bow our head, close our eyes. Dear God, you provide us with everything we need. Please help me to have enough water and help me to share my water with others. Please help me to have enough food and help me to share my food with others. Please help me to have enough clothes and help me to share my clothes with others. Please help me to have enough money and help me to share my money with others. Help me to have enough friends and help me to share my friends with others. Please help me to have enough toys. I know those are important to you. And help me to share my toys with others. Remind us to trust your promises and share what we have with others. Amen. Well, one of the ways that we can share if we have more than others is by donating food to an organization, or in our case, our church has its own little pantry. You know how you usually have a pantry in your house that's got food in it? Or maybe it's just cupboards that has the canned green beans and the cereal and popcorn and everything in it. Well, our church has this one, and it's out on the front of the church. There's one door that you'll go in to come into the church, but off to the side, there's another door, and it looks like this. And people don't go in and out of that door, at least not very often. But right here is a little cabinet, like a little plastic cabinet, and it says free little pantry. Take what you need and leave what you can. So those of us in our church that have more than we need at home can bring it to the church, and Pastor Mike or Mr. Reese will put it out here. And then neighbors may come by, and if they're short on vegetables or cereal or something, they can help themselves. This is just a bigger picture showing the same thing. It says free little pantry. Take what you need and leave what you can. And this is kind of what it looks on the inside. This is the kind of things that the people in our church bring to share with others. Some of the things that they really need right now, and the reason I'm going to list them to you, is because you may choose to do this with your family. Don't just take stuff out of the fridge and the cabinets and stuff. Do it with Mama. And when you go to the cabinet, look for things that maybe you have more than you need. I went to my cabinet And I found out that I had some hamburger helper. I had, I don't know, 5 boxes. So I thought, well, I'll donate 2 boxes to the church to help the people that are hungry. And I came across with some instant oatmeal. This has blueberries and cranberries in it. That's good stuff. Again, I already had 2 boxes. And then I found a jar of spaghetti sauce. And again, I think I had 3 or 4 jars. So I'm going to share one. And then good old green beans. We have a lot of canned green beans and canned corn for when the grandkids come. But I had about 6 cans of these, so I thought I could share those too. So maybe you and your mom, brothers and sisters and dad, whomever, would like to do that. And if you do, just bring them to the church, and Pastor Mike or Mr. Reese will make sure that they get out into the little pantry. And it feels really good to share your stuff with others. All right, well, now it's time to read our story. So if you don't have it, go and get your Spark Story Bible, and you can open it up to page 90. It's called Manna, Quail, and Water. This is still Moses. He's leading the people across the desert, hot desert, so they're hungry and they're thirsty. One thing you'll notice in that picture on page 90 is that Moses is carrying a walking stick because he's getting old and they're walking a long way. And a walking stick does, in fact, help you to walk. So he's got that walking stick with him. So let's start the story. God loved the Israelites and their leader, Moses. God promised to bring the people to a place where they could build homes and live happily. They had never lived outside of Egypt before, and they were afraid. We're often afraid of things that we've not done before, right? But God went with them as they walked long and far to the place God promised. Traveling was hard and tiring. Along the way, the people became hungry. Then they complained to Moses. I'm so hungry, one boy said. I wish we could go back to Egypt, whined a little girl. At least we had food to eat there. Her stomach was growling. The people missed their dinners of meat and bread. The Israelites didn't know that God heard them complaining. That evening, something strange happened. Tiny birds called quails appeared everywhere. God had sent the quails so the people could eat meat. Well, at the bottom of that page, there's a picture of some quails. See those there? And I went online to get you on, this was almost like a cartoon drawing. This is a picture of what a real quail looks like. They're kind of like a little chicken. They're smaller than a chicken. And who likes chicken nuggets, chicken strips, fried chicken? I bet lots of you do. I know my grandkids like to eat those things. Well, quail, they're like a little chicken, and so I bet the meat of a quail tastes very much like the meat of a chicken. So that's what God sent down to them so that they could have meat every day. He sent quails. And now you can turn the page to page 92. Look at the top of the page there. You can see the green grass. The next morning, the ground glistened with fresh dew. Even after the sun dried up the dew, there was still something covering the ground. It looked like bread had rained down from heaven. Bread, kind of like those pieces that you went and gathered earlier, those pieces of bread. It was manna. Back in the Bible days, they didn't call it bread. They called it manna. The manna looked like tiny seeds and tasted like bread. The people ate and ate. Every day, God sent manna and quails so that the people had food to eat. So God was taking care of them, wasn't he? The Israelites kept traveling toward the place God promised. After a while, they ran out of water. Even though God had given them food when they were hungry, the people still complained. My mouth feels dry like a desert, sobbed a child. The people were thirsty. This time, God told Moses to hit a rock with his staff. Remember, I told you he had that walking stick? Well, they also call that a staff. So if you look at that picture, he went up to a big rock and he hit it with his staff. When he did, water gushed out of that rock. The people had more than enough to drink. God gave food and water to the Israelites every day. God took care of the people, just like God had promised. That was a nice story, wasn't it? Manna and quail and water. God provides for our needs. Well, in our story today, the Israelites did a lot of complaining, didn't they? What did they complain about? Hungry and thirsty. Right. They were hungry and they were thirsty. Did they have a good reason to complain? Well, kinda. They were hungry and they were thirsty, but they forgot to trust God. God had told them that he would take care of them. It's not uncommon for people to complain. We all do it once in a while. Sometimes we don't have something we need, but other times we complain even if we have more than we need to. Sometimes we just complain. We need to remember to trust God to provide everything that we need. Sometimes we have things that we want, not necessarily need, but if we need it, God will provide it for us. Well, we're going to have a closing prayer here, and then we're going to go on and do a craft. Okay? So, if you would bow your head, fold your hands, and close your eyes. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you, God, for providing for all of our needs. Help us to share what we have with others. Amen. Okay, now, one thing that I included with the stuff I sent to you was a couple papers. This isn't our craft today. This is something for you to do maybe later in the week or later in the day if you want to. For the littler kids, they've got a picture that they can color that's Moses and the people that were complaining. And the bigger kids, they have one that's called Word Wraparound, where you start here and go around and write the letters down, and then you can read what the message is. Okay, so that's just a little something extra if you want to do it later. But right now, we're going to do the craft. So you need to have those pieces of manna, the bread that you collected in the other room. So you need to have that. I also included, or you can have some of your own at home, is some paper plates. I sent you each a new glue to add to your supply package. And I gave you tacky glue. This is my favorite glue. It's a white glue and it sticks things pretty well and then it dries clear. Okay, so you each have a glue. Then I sent you a Ziploc with some beads in it. And there's a picture of that quail that was in our book. You might want to put that out here just so you remember what it looks like. And also in there is a picture of a rooster. This is something that I found. Well, here's the one that you got. This is a picture of a rooster with a bunch of different seeds and beans and stuff on it. That's pretty cool, isn't it? And here's one that's people did at Thanksgiving time. Do you see how it's a hand? They drew around their hand, and then each feather they did with a different kind of bean. That's kind of cool. Well, that's the sort of thing we're doing today. And I gave you 6 different kinds of beans. And let's see, I wanted to remind you that this is the one that was in your Sunday school book. This is what a real one looks like. You may pick whatever color beans and seeds you want to go anywhere. I just wanted to point out that on a real one, they're kind of yellowish brown here, right? But you may color them put beads whatever color you want. I'm going to start you out, and I kind of thought, oh, where's mine? Oh, and then you need, of course, this, which is your pattern for your quail. Okay, so don't open these up and throw them all together. You'll have such a mess. I did that at my house, and then it's really hard to find the color that you want when they're all mixed up. So my suggestion is to just maybe open the first color you want to do. How about if we together start with this ring right around his neck? If I look at the picture, it looks like it's kind of white. On both of these pictures, it looks kind of white. So what I'm going to do first is open up my white round ones. There's also white rice, or you could do yellow popcorn. You can do whatever color you want, but I'm going to do the rice. Excuse me, the white beans. So I'm just going to take a few out. You don't have to dump them all out. So open the color that you want and just put a few on your paper plate. I don't need very many for that part. Then you have to open your glue, and I did snip the ends for you before I took them to your house, so you should be good. And you have to put quite a little bit, but not tons. Can you see how I've got my glue there? All right, and then you just go and you add whatever color bean you want, any way you want. You can go this way or this way. You put them however you want them. That's what's nice about a craft. You can do it your own way, and everybody's is going to look different. Another thing I'll mention is that we'd like to be able to fill the whole quail with beans and seeds. But that, might take a little while, especially for some of you younger ones. So maybe your mommy or sister could help you. Maybe you could do it for a while and then take a break and come back in a few hours and work on it some more. Don't feel like you have to just sit here and get it all done. It's supposed to be fun, okay? Another thing I'll mention is don't pick it up too much and show daddy or something because it hasn't dried yet and all those beans will fall off. So anyway, let's see if I can get it without them falling off. I've got this part done. See, like a collar around his neck. I think the next part I'm going to do is right in here. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with that one. Maybe I'll do the popcorn on that one. And I'll show you again. And you can go over that black line. You can put beans right over that black line. I kind of want to show you, if you could look up here for a minute. I haven't done the whole section, but you see how I put quite a bit of glue on there? Because you want to have some glue on every bean that you put in there, okay? So I think I said I would do popcorn. And again, you don't have to dump out the whole thing. And sometimes you can even put several on at the same time, especially these little ones. That works out pretty well. What color are you doing next? Did someone do other than the white collar? I'm awful excited to see what colors you guys have chosen to do this. I used to do this when I was a little kid. And sometimes we also use different kind of macaronis. Maybe we'll do a craft using macaronis at some point too. That's kind of fun. So you just keep going. So anyway, when you get it done, whether it's today or tomorrow or the next day, would you please have your mommy take a picture of you holding it? I want to see your face and I want to see your finished quail. And if she would send a picture to me, I think that'd be marvelous. Oh, also, where's this? Remember those pieces of manna that you picked up in the other room? What I'd like you to do, can you see what I've done here? Is just take your glue and just make a little glob. Sure. Mine's not as full as yours. Yours probably will come out faster. Come on. There it goes. See, I just need a little blob, and then take your piece of manna and just put it on there. So it's going to look like that. And so you're going to have put the manna all over the green, the ground, okay? So seeds and beans, these are called legumes. They're kind of a greenish, brownish, and they're really quite round. And these are called pinto beans. They kind of have a pinkish hue. Your rice is a mixture of white rice and brown rice. That would make real feathers look like feathers. These are called, what do you think? Black beans. That's right. So you use the colors you want and do it however you like. I'll stay with you just for a few more minutes, and then we'll end it for the day because we don't want to spend all day right here. Okay. Boy, this works pretty well if you've got the popcorn. You can really put it on. You don't have to put it on each one piece. You put on quite a few at the same time, and then just push them inside of that black line. And if you want to put beans on the feet, you can, but you don't have to because I already drew them in black. All right. Well, I think that's about all I'm going to do. Whoops, till I get home. But if you'd like to look up for just a minute, I'll show you how I've got a pretty decent start. Whoops. Like I said, you don't want to lift them up too much. But I've got the collar in white beans. They're called navy beans. And I've got here in yellow popcorn. And there's some of my manna. Maybe I'll put a few more pieces of manna on, and then I will pack these up and go home. So I've had fun doing this with you today. I hope that you've had fun too. And I look forward to our next Sunday school lesson together. Have a great week. I miss you. I love you. See you next time.